How's it going, Angela? Hope you're ready for lesson 2. Today we'll be talking about body language, what it means, and how to interpret it. Let's get started. First off, a really cool way to remember body language is TEMP. T-E-M-P, meaning tails, eyes, ears, mouth, and posture. This is a really simple way to remember what parts to look for on a dog to see what they're actually thinking. Parts of their body will convey the emotions that they have inside. So let's start with T, tail. Tails are very important to look for in a dog. Here we have a little diagram of different positions that the tail can be in. Here it might be slightly tucked, where the dog is maybe a little bit less comfortable, a little bit more nervous. They're not necessarily going to fight, but rather run from fight or flight. Here the tail is pretty much, relaxed, just hanging down there, not too much going on, no tension necessarily holding it in place. I would say the dog is fairly relaxed and not really too worried about anything in particular. The tail is a little bit higher, but not too terribly excited. You can also tell here with the rounded back. Or top line, meaning the dog is not super comfortable. They're kind of rounding their back end down, tucking it in a little bit, showing signs of fear. Next we have this, which is also called half mast, where the tail is even with the spine. The dog is usually paying attention to something, a little bit more alert, but not necessarily too aggressive. And finally we have two very tall, very stiff tails. As you can see, this one right here is kind of at more of an angle, so it's kind of getting excited, not necessarily telling another dog that they're being threatening, like this tail. This tail is actually telling another dog, hey, I'm watching you, I'm big and bad and tough, I'm being a threat, or they're ready to chase something. They're going to follow their prey instinct and chase after a rabbit, maybe a cat, maybe a smaller dog, whatever. So these are the basics of tail positions. When it comes to wagging, any of these tails can wag, but each one will mean something different. For instance, a tail that's like this and close to the body, or even like this, it might have a very quick, short wag, keeping the tail close to the body. This is usually a submissive type of wag, or something more of appeasement. The dog is nervous, they're scared, and with that will go other bits of body language that you can see. Pretty happy wag with any of these other tails right here. Either slow and happy, or a little bit quicker. Maybe they're beating on the wall, or they're knocking people down. Or going in circles especially. That's a really happy dog. So remember that not every wagging tail means a happy dog. It just means a dog is stimulated. If you have a tail like this or this and it's wagging, it will likely be stiff, short wags, which is also a warning sign. With this body posture held up with tension, being held at this 90-degree from the spine, lots of tension there. That slow, stiff wag is saying, hey, I'm paying attention to you, watch out. So if you happen to see two dogs mirroring this type of behavior, keep an eye out for them because a fight might occur. Let's talk about eyes. Eyes are very, very important when looking into a dog. First of all, with a human talking to a dog, you don't really want to stare at a dog or hold eye contact the way you do with another human. With people, it's very respectful to hold eye contact. It says, I'm paying attention to you, I'm listening to you. When it comes to a dog, it does exactly the opposite. It says, hey, I'm trying to intimidate you, I'm not breaking away, I'm being very aggressive, very straightforward, very rude, really. So don't hold eye contact with a dog. If you have a dog that's staring at you, holding a steady stare, they're not looking away, they're not doing eye flicks, they're not blinking, they're not giving you crescent eyes or any other signals, look away. Don't be big and bad and tough. You will lose. If you have 3 or more seconds of eye contact with a dog, you need to break it. Turn your head away, turn your back, give them some space. They're staring at you saying, hey, you're scaring me, you're intimidating me, and either it's going to work or it's not going to work. Either way, I may end up biting. And again, like I always say, if a dog bites a human, whose fault is it? The human's fault. But remember, the dog always pays for it. If a dog bites, it's never the dog's fault. So to prevent this, you can learn to look at a dog with shorter amounts of direct eye contact. Don't be staring at them. Don't have hard staring eyes. Don't be standing over them. Look at them with nice soft eyes, maybe crescent squinty eyes. These are a little bit more appeasing. When it comes to looking at a dog's eyes for body language, what they may be telling another animal or possibly you, it's really important to see the shape of their eye and the dilation of their pupil. Here we have a dog with a slight bit of white in their eye. Pretty relaxed pupil, not too dilated, not too large, not too small. You can tell the muscles around the eye are nice and soft and they're not tight or pulled back. Here the eye is very large, very wide open. We call these whale eyes. Sometimes you can see the entire white of the eyeball, In this case, the pupil is just very dilated and very large. The dog in this case is very frightened and may very likely bite. Now remember, pupil dilation is just a natural reflex. It's a natural response to the body for being overstimulated, whether by fear or excitement. In this case, it's very likely fear. Like with this dog here, you can see much more of the white in the eyes. You can see that the dog is terrified, they're looking away. The dog here is very, very nervous. Maybe not necessarily to the point of biting, but they are very nervous and very anxious about what's going on. These two are stressed dogs. This dog is pretty calm. You can also notice the tension and the worry lines in the eyebrows right there, that the dog is very uncomfortable with whatever's going on. Okay, so we talked about tails and eyes. Now it's time to talk about ears. Very important, because the ear position on a dog can tell you a lot of what they're thinking or their emotional state. And it might be more difficult to tell with dogs with floppy ears versus dogs with pointy ears, but you can tell with slight subtleties in the movement of their body. For instance, here we have a dog with pretty floppy ears. The front view shows ears that are facing forward more. The dog is more alert, they're trying to focus on something in front of them. Right here the ears are a little bit more relaxed. Right here the ears being pinned back. All these can tell you with maybe a sheepdog or a hound what they're thinking. You have to pay a little bit closer attention to see what they're actually feeling. A dog with their ears forward like this could mean anything from being an aggressive stance to, hey, what's that over there? Let's go play. Just like ears like this could be backwards because they're saying, hey, I'm getting ready to bite you. This is my ball. This is my turf. Or, hey, I'm frightened. You're really scaring me. And of course, ears like this, they're pretty relaxed. They're being nice and respectful. For a dog with pointy ears, such as Adonis, his ears are generally straight forward or maybe off to the side a little bit like this. He's always paying attention to everything around him, so if he sees something and he's really excited, he'll pop those ears and perk them forward, and he's going to pay a lot more attention to what's in front of him than things around him. The side view, he will look like this, with his ears nice and upright and erect, versus this, where they're kind of leaned back a little bit and they're more comfortable. They're in a relaxed position, maybe sideways. He's not really paying attention to anything in particular. Or they could be like this. Now, I generally don't see his ears like this because he's usually very comfortable, unless I come home from vacation, which I just recently did, and he was very excited. So this can be also a sign of appeasement or a sign of discomfort. In his case, he was probably uncomfortable that I was gone, but he was happy when I came back. So his ears went back like this. For a dog who is upset or terrified or ready to bite, in either case, you'll likely see ears like this, being pinned back close to the head, or just leaning back because they're saying, hey, I'm getting more comfortable. Think of it as the ears being forward on a dog being the more attention they're paying to you, and the further they go back towards the head means the more uncomfortable they're becoming. Okay, now comes mouth. Mouth is very important when working with dogs. Whether it's your own dog or a dog you're about ready to pet, make sure to pay attention to the position of the mouth and whether it's opened or closed. Even something as simple as having a mouth closed can mean the difference between a trip to the emergency room and not. So we've talked about tails, eyes, and ears, and now it's important to talk about mouth. Here we have a dog with a tightly closed mouth with short lips. Chances are if you were to put your hands close enough to him, you would see the teeth, or he would just go straight in for a bite. Don't go to try to pet a dog with a closed mouth. This usually says, hey, I'm not comfortable. Much like a person with their hands closed into their body, their mouth is closed, they're avoiding eye contact, you might see some tension in their face or in their body. Leave them alone. If the dog has a slightly open mouth with longer lips, he's slightly more comfortable. Now if you were to go pet him, he might close his lips and go back to this position. So keep an eye on what this mouth is doing as well as the rest of the body. So here we have a really wide open mouth with long lips and the tongue is hanging out. The dog might be getting more stressed, or he could be a little more comfortable. If this jaw was closed a little bit more, then I would say this dog is probably pretty happy and the cheeks would be pulled back into more of a smile. Maybe like this guy, but depending on the context, it's showing more teeth here than it is here. From here, he starts to take the tongue back inside and starts showing more of his teeth, more of a warning sign saying, hey, I'm getting more uncomfortable. And here we start to snarl, move the nose back over the muzzle, and we start to see these little wrinkle lines in the cheeks saying, hey, I'm all business, I am not kidding anymore, I will bite you, back off. I've given you plenty of warning through all of these signs with a closed mouth, maybe an appeasement, kind of long lips, see if you'll go away. Maybe not, maybe I'll have to put my tongue out, start panting and showing you, okay, I'm getting more and more nervous. Even with here showing some teeth, saying, hey, I'm getting increasingly more nervous, leave me alone, to here. Finally the state where he says, okay, you don't get my other signals, I'm going to tell you now, leave me alone or I will bite. Now, just because you see dogs showing this type of behavior doesn't mean they're being mean or aggressive. The dog is likely just afraid and you're pushing them way too far. You're getting too close into their personal space and you're not listening to their signals. They're giving you cutoff signals, very specific ones that most dogs, most animals in general know how to understand. For humans, however, we've grown up not understanding these signals. We kind of do what we want, when we want, how we want, and the dog just kind of has to put up with it. Especially with many trainers out there teaching you that if a dog licks his lips, you should correct him. If a dog does a look away, correct them, pop them. If a dog starts panting, correct them, pop them on the leash. That is entirely untrue and unsafe. Here we have some dog body language with an assortment of all the different types of pieces that we looked at earlier, from the eyes to the ears to the mouth to the tail and the posture. With this little Boston Terrier, he's going to show us many different signs of how he's feeling. So here you can tell the dog is getting increasingly more stressed until he finally lashes out and lunges. We have him very alert, standing on the front of his tippy toes. His ears are straightforward, eyes are big, he's paying attention, he has that closed mouth. Here he has the hackles going up on the back of his throat, piloerection. Maybe he's more anxious, he tucks those ears back. His top end is lowered, meaning his back is curved, spine is curved. The tail is tucked, ears are back, lowering the back end. He's kind of leaning more this way, back, than forward, saying, hey, I'm scared. Here he's being threatening. He's saying, okay, you're still approaching, so maybe I have to get loud and scary and make you go away. If that doesn't work, then he will use fight. From the flight or fight, if you force them, you corner them, you make a dog, they will fight. Here he's being more peaceful. He's giving a head turn. He's giving a calming signal. We'll go over these more in just a moment. But here we have a sign of stress, a yawn. If a dog has not recently been asleep or coming out of a nap, they will yawn as a sign saying, hey, I'm a little bit nervous. Stress, lip lick, a big stress sign, lip lick and yawn. The dog's saying, okay, I'm a little more uncomfortable. If you give the dog a correction, no matter what it may be, whether you take a treat away, whether you pop them with a collar, whether you just come into their space, they may give you a lip lick saying, hey, I'm a little bit nervous. Pay attention for that. They may start sniffing the ground. They're saying, okay, I'm paying attention, minding my own business, not looking at you, just sniffing the grass and watching the day go by. Again, that respectful head turn saying, okay, still not looking at you. You're looking in my direction. I'll look away. Okay, I get it. You're more intimidating. I'm not trying to get into a fight. This little guy has really big white eyes, those whale eyes. He says, I'm a little bit scared, a little bit nervous. Give me some space. He has that closed mouth, laying down on the ground, ears are forward. He says, hey, give me some space. Of course, here we have a little bit of stalking behavior because some dogs do like to do that. The quick scratching. Now this isn't like a real actual scratch. Some dogs may do this to stall, but a lot of times dogs will do this when they're nervous. Like a 3-second to 5-second scratch. Not a good 10 to 20 second really getting into that scratch behind the collar. Instead they're just doing a couple little scratches when someone looks at them, when you again correct them, when a dog is staring at them, a dog may do this to avoid conflict. They will give a stress relief shake off. When you're working with a dog, whether it's training or not, the dog will randomly just shake off and there's no apparent reason for it. That means they're actually trying to shake off the stress. They're switching from hindbrain to front brain thinking. We'll go over this more in a later video, but a quick definition of that is basically hindbrain is reactive. They're looking at a squirrel, they want to chase it. Front brain means, okay, I'm focused on my person, I'm more logical, I'm paying attention. So this little stress shake here will often switch the brain, the mindset. Dog here is just kind of pretty chilled and relaxed. His ears are naturally pointy, so they're just hanging out on his head. They're not forward, not back. He turns his back to you, especially if a dog sits with their back to you. That means they're pretty comfortable with you. They're showing you respect. They're not trying to get in your face. They're not face to face. They're saying, hey, I trust you, and I'm trying to be respectful. All the signs of happiness, from stretching to smiling to wanting a ball. I'm coming! And finally, we have calming signals. Again, we have the body position telling you, oh, I'm really curious, or oh, I'm a little bit more frightened. We'll have the yawn, the lip lick, turning their back. They might be sniffing the ground. They may even paw at the ground or scratch themselves. A polite sniff is when both dogs have their sides curved and they're both sniffing at the same time. No face-to-face interaction. Again, that's rude. When the front end is lowered, that means more like a playtime, when their butt's in the air and they're saying, hey, let's play. Of course, when they roll over to show you their belly, they're more trusting. Or when two dogs are playing, one dog may handicap themselves by rolling over on the ground and letting the other dog kind of get the upper hand for a bit. And just makes wrestling a little bit more fun. And then of course we have the cute little puppy dog eyes and the puppy dog face to get them an extra treat. So when you're at home working with your dog or someone else's dogs, or you're just watching them in the dog park, pay attention to that body language. See what you notice. Pick up on the ears, the eyes, the position, what the mouth is doing, how they're panting. All this will help when working with dogs as a trainer or with your own dog. If you have a house with multiple dogs, this will be great to prevent fights, help with playtime and supervision, or maybe meeting a new dog or bringing a new dog into the home. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too hard to understand. I hope I didn't ramble too much. If you have any other questions or specific lessons you want to see, let me know. I'd be happy to make some more cue cards and examples to help understand, give you a bit more of a visual. So until next time, I'll see you soon.